moving on to another conspiracy theory that is heavily pop culture infused. You remember the Boys to Men song, "It's So Hard to Say Goodbye to Yesterday"? For the national security community, it will be so hard to say goodbye to Havana Syndrome.
Now I'm a guy for the CIA, a red for the USA.
Havana Syndrome now...
Wait a minute, what are you telling me? What about Havana
Syndrome?
Syndrome? It's gotten worse, that they've created a new, even more powerful laser? What's the news?
Yes, it is now metastasized into Santiago Syndrome. I don't fucking know, but this is, hey, look, well, here's the deal. You know, we have to put on our like, get the mind beams correctly attuned here, because this is, I will say, Havana Syndrome is fake according to the CIA. So it seems like we're having sort of a inter-deep state sort of civil war here between the State Department and Tony Blinken, who's saying, I will not discount the lived experiences of State Department employees, and the CIA, who's saying that, like, yeah, it's not real. There are no energy directed.
That's because they want these fucking gold brickers to go back to work already.
Yes.
That's right. They are undercutting the commercial real estate market in Arlington, Alexandria, and Prince George's County, and they must go back to the office. I have a theory, because the intelligence community is now coming out and saying that Havana Syndrome is fake, but that lab leak theory is real. So I have a horrifying premonition at some point that the people who were previously suffering from Havana Syndrome are going to claim to have suffered from early exposure to a Chinese bioweapon. and that's the way the circle is going to get squared.
Just reading from the Washington Post briefly, it says their reporting says the mysterious ailment known as Havana Syndrome did not result from the actions of a foreign adversary, according to an intelligence report that shatters a long disputed theory that hundreds of U.S. personnel were targeted and sickened by a clandestine enemy wielding energy waves as weapons. The new intelligence assessment caps a years-long effort.
When you say it like that, it sounds silly.
Can you cut in a clip of Jose Chung saying mere words?
You were not experiencing Havana Syndrome. You merely saw Neptune in retrograde.
Swamp gas.
Swamp gas, exactly. It says the new intelligence assessment caps a years-long effort by the CIA and several other U.S. intelligence agencies to explain why career diplomats, intelligence officers, and others serving in the U.S. missions around the world experience what they described as strange and painful acoustic sensations. The effects of this mysterious trauma shorten careers.
Yeah, Justin Bieber.
Rihanna's Super Bowl performance.
I gotta say, it was a little low energy. I know people got mad when you say that, but
yeah. Well, they needed some of those beams, the energy beams, to increase.
They needed to put some freaking energy in there.
Put some energy in it.
It says here, several intelligence agencies participated in the review of approximately 1,000 cases of anomalous health incidents, the term the government uses to describe a constellation of physical symptoms, including ringing in the ears, followed by pressure in the head and nausea, headaches, and acute discomfort. One always wants to be humble, one official said, and we looked at what additional information we would need to change the conclusions. The official added that some work on finding a source for the health conditions continues, notably at the Defense Department, and that intelligence agencies were prepared to lend their support to that effort. In a statement, CIA Director William J. Burns said analysts had conducted one of the largest and most intensive investigations in the agency's history. I and my leadership team stand firmly behind the work of the conducted and the findings. I want to be absolutely clear. These findings do not call into question the experiences and real health issues that the U.S. government personnel and their family members, including CIA's own officers, have reported while serving our country, Burns said. We will continue to remain alert to any risks to the health and well-being of agency officers to ensure access to care and to provide officers the compassion and respect they deserve. I love that even the CIA uses the phrase access to health care because it's funny because they're the only people under 65 in this country who just don't need access to healthcare because all these Havana Syndrome gold brickers fucking got a special bill passed by Congress. It took them 5 minutes to write and pass that law, which gave all of these fucking charlatans free healthcare for life.
It's amazing. It did fly through Congress with bipartisan support. And if you go back and look at the like contemporaneous reporting, like, I don't know, when was the height of Havana syndrome? The 2017, 18, when the most sort of occurrences were happening. I feel like it was reported on incredibly credulously by the mainstream press.
Oh my God,
with none of the skepticism they retain for, I don't know, pink-haired college kids and trans children. Like none of that, the scaremongering, you know, like what would you do if your child was suffering from Havana syndrome?
Jacob.
It was all like...
Jacob, you have to understand, all we have are anecdotes about Havana syndrome because the data just isn't there yet. So I would withhold any conclusions until we have a longitudinal study of Havana syndrome sufferers, and if any of them maybe experience regret for working for the CIA.
I will appropriately modify my Bayesian priors on the basis of that important corrective.
I don't know. I mean, like the national security communities, they're going to have to take this one on the chin. But I think we said it before. Matt, I think you have it exactly right. What is really going on here? It's like basically a passive sort of form of striking by people who work in the national security community.
Yeah, quiet quitting.
It's quiet. They're quiet quitting because they've experienced so much acoustic damage to their brains by energy-directed weapons.
I had a boss at an old job, and he was actually a pretty nice guy, so I won't blow him up by name or company or anything. But anytime I would see him out at the bar one night, I knew that the next day he would call me and tell me that he had a migraine and wasn't coming into the office. I mean, if there's one thing we know about America's intelligence communities, even in this day and age, it's that they don't mind tying one on. So this all seems to me to be a combination of being the worst people in the world and having some sort of vestigial conscience, drinking too heavily, and also having most of your jobs be on like U.S. military bases that are full of like depleted uranium munitions and God only knows what other poisons and toxins just leaching into the soil that you're on every day.
Speaking of media credulity, someone pointed this out to me the other day. There was a recent episode of Law and Order about Havana syndrome, and there was this like tearful moment on the stand, like the final break before it, like the final segment where they're like in the trial, and this woman's on the stand, and she's like, I thought he had turned violent, and like I reported him to the police, and I didn't know it was Havana syndrome. I wish I could take it back. He's not guilty.
In the American system of justice, there are two syndromes. I don't know how to finish that one.
Well, yeah, the people's brains are cooked by two separate but equally important high frequency energy beams.
But I think this is actually we might be onto something here, because if you guys are Law and Order universe fans, if there's one thing we know from Law and Order, it's that neither the first most obvious suspect nor the second suspect is ever guilty. So neither the original acoustic weapon nor the subsequent radiological directed energy weapon is the guilty party in Havana syndrome. So clearly there is a third person on the edge of the guest cast who's got to be responsible. Fauci, maybe.
It's always Fauci.
It's or Vondi Curtis Hall. It's usually him. He's usually guilty if he's on Law and Order. But I just want to say, like, just wrapping up the Havana syndrome thing. No matter what it was, or like why these people started like experiencing this mass hysteria, it worked because they all have healthcare now for the rest of their lives for their hangovers. So. Good on them. Like I said, they're the only people under 65 who can say that. So I don't know. I'm thinking of developing some sympathetic ailments related to my work as well. But my I don't know. It'd have to be work for the FBI that I do,
or from the CIA, because you could have inherited it in some sort of Lamarckian version of
epigenetic trauma.
That's right.